Hi, my name is Karen Lauritzen, and today I'm going to talk about PECS, which stands for Picture Exchange Communication System. PECS is typically used for students who have either they're nonverbal or they have limited verbal skills. They might have emerging verbal skills, and it helps them learn to create functional communication. PECS is an aided icon or picture-based augmentative system, and like I said, it's designed for individuals who need help communicating. PECS encourages the initiation of communication, and it is comprised of 6 different phases that kind of build on each other as the student gains more skills with PECS. It pairs icons such as this with highly preferred activities or highly preferred items. So basically, to make PECS most effective, a practitioner needs to do a survey for the child in order to figure out which items are more preferred. In order to do this, you can do a preference assessment or a reinforcement assessment to figure out which activities or items are going to be most preferred by the individual. There's lots of different pros and cons when it comes to PECS. One of the first pros is that PECS is highly reinforcing because the client gets the reinforcement for the action of using the PECS icon pretty immediately. And so that is highly reinforcing to the child that's using it. And it decreases unwanted behavior because the client learns to be able to communicate their needs and wants and preferences instead of having miscommunication, which can be really frustrating to a child that is lacking in some verbal skills. So one of the pros of PECS is that it can reduce unwanted behavior, and it can increase behavior that you do want to see, which is functional communication. Another pro about PECS is that there's no formal training that is needed or prerequisite training that is needed for the student before they start to use PECS. And there is some training for the adult that is leading the intervention, but it's not that complicated to do. And so the nice thing is that it's a really useful system and intervention that doesn't require a lot of training. Another great thing about PECS is that PECS is a very portable system, which means that the child carries around their PECS board. And it, usually they have like these nice handle straps, and so they can be very easily portable to lots of different environments to improve the generality of the intervention. There are a few cons for PECS. One of them is that the client must have some sort of manipulation ability, that they can have enough motor skills to be able to actually hand you the icon. But you can work on that as well. Also, sometimes PECS can be a little bit challenging for children at first because the icons don't exactly match the items that they want. For example, this doll doesn't look exactly like this doll, and so there's not an exact match. But you can teach to that able to distinguish. Also, another con is that the child does have to have their book in order to communicate, and this PECS book ends up being the child's voice, so it's really important that their voice is there when they need to use it. So this does need to be maintained and brought along with the child. Phase 1 of PECS requires sometimes two teachers to sit at a table with the child, and it does often at the beginning require physical hand-on-hand prompting in order to help the child choose the icon and to get the reinforcement delivered right away. So this has to be done in pretty close proximity, and the learners typically don't leave their seat. So they say they want doll is right here, and you prompt them to do that. In phase 2, the learners use to exchange for more items or more variety. And typically in phase 2 of PECS, the child needs to learn what's called distance and persistence. And that means that the child will learn to travel short distances to retrieve and exchange the pictures and icons with their communication partner. And so basically if the child wants a dollhouse, they might have to travel from where we're sitting right here over to the dollhouse. And so that would be phase 2 of PECS, is that distance and persistence. In phase 3, the learners are taught to discriminate amongst various icons and pictures to choose among an array. So for example, you could say, it's snack time, what do you want? And so you'll see that there's lots of different food choices, such as, pretzel, fish crackers, mac and cheese. So the learner would be able to choose amongst a variety of desired items. In phase 4, the learners are taught to expand their requests into complete sentences. And so typically that's when you would use this part of the PECS board. And so basically the child will learn to use some of the icons that have things like I want or I need, and then they will use that to put on their PECS board. So they could say like, I want snack, and then they would get a snack. In phase 5, the learners are taught to answer questions using their PECS icons. And so you could say, what do you want? And then the child would say, I want bubbles. So they would use the strip to create I want bubbles. And so they can answer all different kinds of WH questions with that. In phase 6, the learners are taught to expand their use of the PECS icons and pictures and words, and able to use the system to actually comment on their surroundings. So for example, if you're at a park, you could ask, what do you see? And the child could write, I see a blue bike. So basically they're using sentences to be able to comment. And the great thing about PECS is that PECS is got so many pros to it, and it can be used in many different environments for the child. PECS can be used at home and with some family training, and PECS can also carry around to the child with different agencies that they're at, with their OT, with their PT, in the school setting, and anywhere that the child goes. So those are some of the great things about PECS.